Good afternoon, traders. This is Chris Buss with Traders Profit Compass with your Market on Close report for Thursday, October 15th. Okay, a lot of action today, a lot of price movement across the board. I hope you had a good day of trading. I had one of those days that I felt like I was 6 inches from gold, but couldn't manage to pick it up. And that's how trading goes some days. Don't know why, but that's just the way it turned out. So maybe have some better luck tomorrow. Let's get into it. Okay, SPY 2 hour. We gapped down. Now I've taken out, normally I'll have the gaps marked on here, but I've since removed them because they filled today, and let's look at that. We gapped down, reached down right to the bottom of this gap that was right here and filled it, and then worked our way up the rest of the day and actually came up. You can see that little dash blue line there. I think you can see it right there, where price came up and filled the opening gap. And that's something we talked about in the pre-market. Whenever you have a gap down, you'll obviously have an overhead gap left above by that move. And so you've got to be ready for a retracement back to fill that gap. And that's exactly what we got today. So we came back up and filled that gap. So there's really no unfinished business because we filled the gap below, and then we filled the gap that was left by the gap down in the morning. So we don't have any unfilled gaps, so that's good. We got all that business taken care of. We have some down here below, but we'll deal with those when we get to them. Now tomorrow, I think this 347 is a good bull bear pivot for active traders. If you notice up above, RSI remains in the bullish regime above 50, as does the PPO. Above its zero line, still in bull mode. So if price can hold in here in this 347 area and make a drive higher, you'll get a bull cross in your PPO. And of course, the opposite holds true. If it rolls down over, then this will, obviously move down. But I think 347 is the key tomorrow on the 2 hour time frame, with no gaps to worry about anymore. I think it should be, straightforward if price can build on today's gains or if they give them back. So I think 347 is a good pivot. Moving to the 30-minute chart, you can see here, this was the bottom of the gap. Price came down, tested it, closed back above, and then started working its way higher the rest of the day, coming in to fill this gap. So again, I've penciled in a line here, a downtrend line. We do have a series of lower highs and lower lows, but we're back up at downtrend resistance, and I think a pop here would send this higher up towards 349.50, and if it can clear that level, then it's up to 351, 352. So again, I think 347 is the key. If it holds above, I think bulls are fine. If it breaks below, then I think 346 and possibly a retest of today's low at 344 may be in the cards. And one thing I would watch for tomorrow, this is always a nice key for me, is on these short time frames. We were in bullish mode here, and we rolled over and came down, and we broke the zero line, which puts PPO bearish. And now we've turned and started moving up. If you saw PPO rise and then roll over before it got to the zero line, that is a bearish move, and you would likely see price rolling over down below, and that would be a confirmation of it moving lower. Also here, if you were to see RSI come up and not really be able to make progress here and then fall back down below 50, that would also be bearish confirmation. Now, it's not smooth here, but I want to point out how the zero line works on PPO. Here we came down, it flattened out, acted as support here on the signal line, which is the light gray, got a bounce, came back down, didn't get all the way there, but it was on its way, crossed back above, and then down here. So my point is that the zero line often acts as support and resistance, depending on which side you're on. Here we are on the positive side, and it acted as support, and here it may act as resistance if price moves up and momentum comes up but then rolls over at the zero line. So be aware of that. I find it very helpful when trading lower time frames to get that confirmation from RSI and PPO as to which way momentum is heading. QQQ, 2 hour. RSI, still bullish. PPO, still bullish. We have dropped down below this channel, this rising channel that I have. We came down. We did not completely fill this gap. You can see, there's still a sliver left. I think it's about $1 wide. Not a lot. But then made our way higher through the day. Did not close the opening gap like SPY did. We still have work to do above. So this setup is a little more dicey than SPY. It's not as clear cut in my eye, whether price will get rejected from this trend line and gap resistance, or go ahead higher and close that gap. Let's take a look at the 30-minute chart and see if we can get any more clarity. You'll notice here PPO dropped down below. Not really much of a cross, but it did cross, so you got a bull cross working. If this remains weak and we get that rollover I just talked about, that would be bearish. And we also have RSI below 50 on this 30-minute time frame. Tomorrow for me, it's 291. If price can break above 291, I think you can, if you're not in, you can get long, see if you can get a gap fill, and then this 292.50, 293 area, if it can break above there, then it should be more or less clear sailing higher. As far as support goes, this 289.50 right here where both of these gaps converge, that'll be a support level. And then today's low down here at like 287.50 will be support as well. But if we were to break today's low, that's definitely short time. I want you to take note of these candles. look at how they all finished. All of them finished exactly at the same level. And that's a visual cue that it's at support. You know, when you've got an, you know, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 candles, 7 30-minute candles where none of them could go below this level. That's a visual cue that, you know, that's good support. So anybody that took a long in here, that was a nice objective level to shoot against, you know, with a stop down below after you had all this evidence that price would not accept going lower. There was no additional selling pressure there. So that would have been a nice long, good for, you know, a couple bucks higher, something like that. But that was technically, that would have been a nice objective place to take a long. Now, if you got long there and you held overnight, I think you're in good shape. I would just, you know, move your stop up to this level here at the top of this gap at 289.50-ish and say, okay, you know, if it holds that level, good chance to push higher. But if it drops below, you can just take your profit right then and there on that opening position. This one I got completely wrong today. I had, and I sent you a note on it. When price got up here, I was saying, okay, back test of the broken trend line. I was thinking it would get rejected there. It wasn't, and then I was stopped out almost immediately. I mean, it didn't take long, so that was a losing trade. The real nice trade today on IWM would have been this reach down on the first candle, almost down to the top of the gap, which held. That would have been, I mean, you would have had to have been pretty quick, but that would have been a nice entry. And then you could have said, you know, top of the gap is my stop. So I didn't catch that. Maybe you did. If you did, that was a great trade. But then it was up all day, so that was a strong trend, and IWM outperformed both of the other indexes. Now tomorrow, we basically have a reset of what we had before. As long as 162 holds, I think the bulls are in good shape. If it drops back below, then, you know, 160 would be favored. But notice the RSI is in bull mode, and the PPO is also in bull mode, and price is above key support. It recaptured it. So I think the bulls are in charge of the tape right here in IWM. Also, another entry would have been the recapture of this 160 level, and then the recapture of this 162 level would have been also another entry that would have worked. So whenever you drop below and then recapture levels above, those are always objective places to try to get long. And here it is zoomed in. That reach down to the top of the gap, and then the gap fill. That's where I tried to get short. Didn't work. Got stopped out, and then it just, you know, climbed up the rest of the day. So I think this 162 is a better level on the 2 hour to shoot against. I think the bulls are in charge right here until price rolls below. Facebook. I don't have it drawn in here, but here was the gap right here down to 264. And look at the perfect kiss of that level. And it held and got a bounce. Now, the bounce wasn't as strong as in the other names, and I have drawn in this nice trend line right here off the lows, picking up this point here and this point here. So tomorrow, I think anything north of 264 is a long. See if you can get a push up here to the gap left behind this morning. You may see a reaction there, but until this main trend line is broken and 264 is taken out, I think you can be long on Facebook. And if the market turns around, you know, get this gap fill here and a recapture of 273, those would all be bullish events. And I mean, if you think about it, okay, we're right here at, let's say, what are we at? 267. So 264 is our line. Let's just say you went long tomorrow at 267. You'd have $3 of risk, right? Down to 264. The recent high is 280. So if you were shooting for 280, that's, you got $12 of upside and you got $3 of risk. If you think about it that way, if you're playing for a move back to the top of the range, you're playing for 12 and you're risking 3. So that ain't all bad. Now if you got a little back test in the morning, come back to 264, all the better. Then you really got a nice tight objective long against 264 with all this upside potential. And hey, if it breaks this trend line, you're out, you got a paper cut, and then you can be looking for the short side if this trend goes. Let's look at Apple. Drawing this nice trend line off the lows, catching these reactions along the way. Right here this morning, Apple came down, found this level here, did not completely fill the gap, came down to 118, got a bounce, and then worked its way higher the rest of the day. Now I've got a downtrend line here, as you can see, coming in to this major uptrend line. I like to think of it like this for tomorrow. I think anything north of 120 is a long. As long as it holds 120, you got a good chance of breaking this little downtrend line. If you want to wait for it, that's fine. But I think it's shown remarkable resilience at 120. Here several times, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles testing. I think it's a great level to shoot against on the long side. And, you know, if it loses that level, then loses this uptrend, fine, go short, because then you'll be on the right side of the trade if price is below this uptrend line. But until then, I think being long against 120 is the right play. And you'll notice here, PPO starting to curl and flatten right at the 0 line. That's a bullish look. Same thing here with RSI, flattening out right at 50. That's a bullish look. So with RSI in bull mode, PPO flattening, turning up in bull mode, and price above 120, I think that's the triple green light for a long on Apple if you're interested in trading it. Tesla. Got a nice trend line off the low, capturing reaction points here, and here. Price pressing up against 450 after getting support on this trend line. I think a long above 450 is the right play. You know, you can be long. You know, if you bought this here, you're fine. You're right so far. But if I'm looking at taking a fresh position tomorrow on short time frames, take out 450 and then go. Make a run to 460, possibly pop that, fill this gap, and then make a run to 475. And you've got a very tight stop here with this trend line. You know, below 445, you're out. So that sets up as a pretty nice risk-reward trade right here, using 450 as your, you know, your bull-bear pivot. And you know, Tesla's been, you know, pretty darn resilient here compared to some of the other names. So I think it's got some bull tailwinds at its back, to be honest. PPO, bull mode. RSI, bull mode. Pop 450, take it long. Microsoft. Check out the RSI, bull mode, PPO, bull mode, flattening right at the 0 line, looking like it wants to curl up. I like that look. Again, I have the gap here from Monday. It wasn't a big gap, but you've got multiple tails into the gap, filling that, and then all of them touching the top of the gap for, you know, several hours and then going. Again, that's a visual cue. When you see multiple candles keep retagging the same level but can't go any lower, that's a good sign that there just isn't the selling pressure that's going to force it lower, and you've got a pretty good line to shoot against on the long side. And finally, it made its way higher. Now tomorrow, I think 219 is your bull-bear pivot. As long as that holds, I think you got a good chance to fill this gap and make a run at 221.50. If it were to reclaim that level, that's a place to add. Or if you didn't get long down here, definitely a place to get long at 221.50. That's a trade I would make tomorrow. I like Microsoft. You know, we were in it long, and then we got out on this break, which in hindsight, you know, looks smart that we got out of that. But now it's looking like it's going to be an up cycle. And I think definitely if it got to 221.50 and was able to take that out, I would get long there. If you're long from down here, you know, all the better. All depends on your time frame. You know, if you're trading weekly options that expire tomorrow, it's a totally different game than if you're looking, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks out into earnings. So time frame is definitely important. But tomorrow, I like being long against 219 and adding at 221.50. Here's another great example of reading candlesticks. Gap down, fill the gap right here, bottom of the gap, just below 3,300. We've got an uptrend line, and we got the bottom of the gap. Look at all the candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles, maybe. 5 or 6 candles all touching the bottom of the gap, and they could not break it. That's a great sign to get long. If you got, you know, if you did get long, you're looking good. Came back up, made a reach higher to try and close, but did not quite do it. The opening gap. Now tomorrow, 33.35 is the key. Stay long above it. Be a little cautious below. But as long as price is above this uptrend line, I think longs are fine. If we break today's low right down here, then you've got to be concerned and you've got to flip to the bearish side. That's how I see it. But above this 33.35, I think the door is open for a run back to 3,400. And these levels have been really, really good. So, you know, trust them. We saw here on the move above that level, it really go. And then on the way back down, it acted as support. So we know that 33.35 is an important level. You know, if you're not in, let price get above that and then take your long and look for 3,400. Now remember, tomorrow is like the Amazon lottery day on weekly options. They call it lottery for a reason. It's easy to lose money, but sometimes you make a lot of money. And if you're sharp and you're quick and the market cooperates, it can work out really well. If you get like an early morning, you know, right out of the gate, a move above this 33.35 and you take your long and the market runs, that's when you make a lot of money. And if it hesitates or backtracks on you, you got to get out quick, because those weekly options are going to decay like a madman. So you can't, you know, if you're going to take that risk, time is working against you. Every, you know, 30 minutes that goes by, those options are decaying, and you know, just a stagnant price is the same thing as being wrong. It's got to go fast. The safer way to play, of course, is to go an extra week out and, you know, buy yourself some time for a bull move. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not recommending to do it or not do it, but on a stock that can move $50, $75, $100 in a session, if the stars align, it can be a real good Friday for you if everything works out. Notice how the PPO is flattening here at the 0 line. Not quite above, but still within reason. Now, if that were to, you know, roll over, that's a whole different ball game. Excuse me. Google, 60-minute chart. RSI, bull mode. PPO, well above the 0 line, bull mode. This to me looks like bull flag action. I've, you know, penciled it in that way, with a rather large, you know, flagpole. I haven't drawn that in, but that's an impulsive move. Bull flag action. If you got a break above 1567 tomorrow, I would take that long. And given the measured move, if this truly is a bull flag, I mean, you're looking well up into the 1600s. So I really like getting long Google above 1567, 1570, whatever you want to call it, with your first target being the prior high here at 1580. You've got some resistance at 1590, but then if it can crack that, should be off to the races. And you'd want to see, you know, PPO curling up. If you got that move, you'd see that coming up and then accelerating to the upside. You can tell Google has been stronger because it didn't even get close to filling this Monday gap. So whereas the other names that we've already covered reached well into that Monday gap, but this is well above. So this is showing some relative strength that I really like. And also notice that PPO is well above the zero line, also showing relative strength. Netflix, again, nice example. Look at all the candles touching 535 but couldn't crack it. Great objective level to take a long. Now, you didn't get a lot out of it, but you don't always know that when you're taking the position. You don't know what these candles are going to do. Anyhow, you took an objective long here at 535, came back up to fill the opening gap, and now you've got, if you're in, then you're golden. You've got your stop just below, and maybe tomorrow get a push higher. For me tomorrow, I'm not in, and if you're not in, I would wait to get 545 recaptured. If price can come up, recapture 545, I think that's your long ticket, that's your green light, and then look for 555. If price backtracks and loses 535, then it's a short. It's going to come back to 525. This has been a really important level. Look, it was resistance, 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 broke above, support, 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 came up, support again. So if it loses that support, then of course that'll be resistance and it'll be looking for a down move. But RSI turning higher, PPO flattening at the zero line. I think it's a bull setup. I think tomorrow, with any luck, you'd get a pop above 545 and be off to the races. I didn't mess with Big C today, but I'm really liking how this price action has been working in this stock. Breakout here above, back to the bottom of the channel, working its way back up to the midpoint of the channel, against a crappy tape today. I mean, that's really constructive action. I really like that. And notice here, this really large volume over price bar, and price is above it. So this 103.50 area, that should be great support. And if you were on top of your game today and you didn't catch this low, that was your buy on the break above recapture of 103.50. That was a great place to get long. Now tomorrow, recapturing 106 would be a long, and look for 110. So that's how I would look at that. Notice the strength in PPO. Notice the strength in RSI. And I just put these green zones just as a visual cue for you guys to say we're in bull mode on both indicators, and that gives you a lot more confidence to trust this price signal on that break above. So that's what I see there. Neo had a good day, not much to really talk about. Pushed up, what was it, up 6% on a junk day today. Really strong. I'm looking for more upside there. And let's wrap it up with DraftKings. This is a short that I wish I was in, and I just couldn't pull the trigger. Anyhow, it's come down. Lost this 47.50 today. I've got an uptrend line right here off of the lows coming in at 45. I've got value, you can see by the volume over price bars. I've got value set at 42.50. I want to watch this really closely in the next couple of days. I want to see if this trend line breaks, but then price holds 42.50. I like the name. I like the idea. I like, I would like to get in long. Was kicking myself that I missed this and then I missed that. So I want to get this right finally. There's been a lot of money to be made in these last two moves that we haven't captured, but that's water under the bridge. Let's get the next move right. And I think the moment of truth is really not this uptrend line. I think it's 42.50, because remember what we always say, once you break out, you don't want to come back in to that breakout area, or that means this whole thing was fake. So 42.50 is the line. I got bells and whistles alarmed all around this level. I am not going to miss it this time. Great place for a long, 42.50, and also a great place for a short. If that does not hold, it is coming back to 30, and I want to be on board if that happens. For a test of the 200, that would be really, from a technical chartist point of view, that would be pretty elegant to have a fake breakout, come back into the range, and then flash the 200 and have that hold, and then take a long there. That may be, a fantasy. We'll have to wait and see. I would be just as happy taking a long right here at 42.50 if it holds, and then look for a move back up. Let's wrap it up there, guys. Probably I don't see the time on the clock here, but a long video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. And certainly if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button and the alarm bell so you get notified when I publish new content. And also look over in the show notes where I've got links to the blog and how to register for my content, where everything that I publish will be sent right to your email box. It's real convenient. We've got several new members in the last couple of days. I really appreciate that. I hope you're finding the content helpful. So let's call it an evening. Have a good night, and we'll hit it first thing in the morning like we always do. This has been Chris Buss with Traders Profit Compass. Talk to you next time.